Inspiring millionaire discovers amazing secret while helping girl digging through trash. Heartwarming tale of resilience. Jake Matthews adjusted his tie as he stepped out of his luxurious office, the sun reflecting off the glass towers that surrounded him. For a self-made millionaire at 35, the glistening city was his playground, filled with success and opportunity. But as he walked down the busy street, his heart sank at the sight of a little girl, no more than 9, rummaging through a trash bin on the corner. Her small hands sifted through remnants of someone else's meal, and a heartbreaking reality washed over him. Memories flooded back of late nights spent in a cramped apartment, the sharp crackle of bills and empty cupboards gnawing at his thoughts. Resisting the impulse to walk past her, Jake felt an unshakable pull towards the girl. He approached with a sandwich he had picked up earlier, offering it to her. The girl's eyes widened in surprise, and as she took the sandwich, a flicker of hope ignited within him. They sat on the curb, the city thrumming around them, a chaotic heartbeat that seemed a world away from the moment they shared. As Jake listened to Lily talk about her dreams of becoming a veterinarian, a wave of empathy washed over him. In every word she spoke, he heard the struggles of her family, her veteran father plagued by PTSD, each revelation a bitter reminder of societal barriers, of how dreams could be stifled by circumstance. That day changed Jake in ways he couldn't yet fathom. The warm glow of his success felt dimmed against the weight of another's struggles. The same values he rose above in his own life, resilience and community, began to wrestle with the gloss of his current world, prompting a sense of urgency. He knew he had to act. At a family reunion filled with laughter and abundance, Jake's heart felt heavy. He passionately shared his encounter, urging his family to help those in need. Laughter faded to whispers, scoffing glances pointed his way, dismissing his ideas as radical ideas from a wealthy dreamer. Still, the earlier encounter burned in him, igniting a frustration that simmered beneath his perfectly curated exterior. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Fueled by determination, Jake organized a community fundraiser, envisioning an event that brought together hearts and hands from every walk of life. But whispers of dissent quickly rose from local business elites. They saw his efforts as a threat to their carefully crafted status quo. Yet he remained undeterred. The idea of the fundraiser blossomed, a beacon of hope for families like Lily S. Slowly, he learned of the hidden talents his community held, their music, art, and strength overshadowed by their circumstances. As the fundraiser approached, the pressure mounted. Jake's heart raced. Could he truly unite a fractured community? Would Lily's bright smile be lost to a world that valued wealth over humanity? The echoing question in his mind felt like an insurmountable mountain. How could he bring change in a society reluctant to shift? With uncertainty looming over him, Jake realized he wasn't just fighting for Lily's family. He was battling against the chains of apathy that gripped his own family, his friends. He could see the glimmer of hope in a small girl's smile, and he knew his journey had only just begun. Jake stood in front of his empty office, a sea of papers and half-empty coffee cups scattered across the desk. The fundraiser was only days away, and he could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on him. Each tick of the clock echoed in his mind like a countdown to something significant, and every moment spent on logistics felt like a distraction from the real task at hand. He thought of Lily, her bright eyes filled with hope and dreams. What would she think if he failed? The memory of her grateful smile haunted him, urging him to dig deeper, to push harder. But the looming doubt crept in: who was he to challenge the status quo? What if no one showed up? What if his attempts to unite the community fell flat? With these thoughts racing, he grabbed his coat and headed out into the brisk evening air. The city felt different under the orange glow of the streetlights. It was alive but weighed down by burdens he couldn't ignore. Jake drifted towards a small park, the sound of children playing still echoing in the chilly night. He spotted a group of women rehearsing a local dance routine, laughter spilling from them as they practiced under the dim light. Inspired, Jake approached them, and with a shy greeting, he shared his vision for the fundraiser. The women listened, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism. But as he spoke passionately about the community's talent and resilience, he saw their doubt begin to fade. "Maybe we can showcase some of our dance routines," one woman suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It could be a way to bring everyone together. Everyone loves music and dance." Emboldened by her enthusiasm, Jake felt a flicker of hope reignite within him. They exchanged ideas, and as night wore on, he left the park buzzing with fresh energy. This was what he had been missing, a connection, the kind that had sparked during his first encounter with Lily. Over the next few days, word spread like wildfire. Local artists and musicians joined the cause. Every evening, Jake received phone calls from families eager to help however they could. This was more than just a fundraiser. It was a movement, a chance for the community to reclaim their voices. Finally, the day arrived. The event was set up in a community center, decorated with vibrant posters and twinkling fairy lights. People filed in, some familiar faces and others new. The energy in the room was electric. Laughter and music filled the air. As Jake watched, he felt an overwhelming sense of pride swell within him. This wasn't just about raising money, it was about sharing stories, showcasing talent, and forging bonds. People danced, sang, and shared their dreams. For a moment, the struggles faded away, like clouds parting to reveal the sun. But just as Jake started to feel the swell of triumph, a familiar voice cut through the jubilant noise. His former business partner, Colin, stood at the entrance, arms crossed, skepticism etched across his face. "You really think this will work, Jake? This community?" "They're not going to change," Colin sneered, drawing the eyes of those nearby. Jake's heart sank at the unwelcome doubt. But he took a deep breath, remembering Lily's smile, the hope that had blossomed between them, and the promise he made to fight for it. He refused to let Colin's cynicism dim the glow of what they had created together. With a resolve stronger than ever, Jake stepped forward into the crowd, ready to show everyone, including Colin, that change was not only possible but right in front of them. What would it take to break the chains of doubt? With so much at stake, Jake knew the biggest challenge was just beginning as the crowd grew lively around him, and the clock of transformation continued to tick. Jake took a deep breath, shaking off the shadows Colin's words had cast over him. He stepped closer to the center of the vibrant gathering, his heart pounding with a mix of nerves and exhilaration. The room buzzed with excitement, and in that moment, he felt the weight of his responsibility. It wasn't just about the fundraiser. It was about the community. His community.as guests mingled. He noticed families laughing together, children twirling in their colorful outfits, and friends sharing stories. His mind raced with possibilities. What if each person in this room felt connected, not just to him but to one another? He moved among them, exchanging smiles and high fives, soaking in their energy. Jake couldn't help but feel the momentum building, a force of hope that was contagious. He spotted the woman who suggested the dance routines earlier. Her name was Carla, he recalled, and now she was passionately rallying volunteers to set up the stage. Her enthusiasm was infectious. Jake felt summoned by her smile, and he couldn't resist approaching her. "Carla, this is amazing. It's really coming together," he exclaimed, excitement bursting from him. She beamed, her genuine joy lighting up her face. "You've done something remarkable, Jake. People are rallying around your idea. This might just be the beginning." Jake nodded appreciatively, but a tinge of doubt still gnawed at him. He wanted to ask her if she believed they could truly create change. But before the words could escape, the sound of a microphone cracking to life interrupted him. It was time for the program to begin. Jake climbed up to the stage, his palms sweaty as he grabbed the microphone. The crowd settled, eyes fixed on him. He opened his mouth, struggling to find the right words. "Thank you all for coming together tonight," he began, his voice steadying. "This isn't just a fundraiser. It's a celebration of who we are as a community. He paused, noticing the faces lighting up, nodding in encouragement. As he spoke, he poured out his heart, his desire to create a space where everyone's dreams mattered, where voices that had been brushed aside could resonate. The room swelled in response, cheers and encouraging shouts filling the air. It felt like a spectral embrace, wrapping around him like a halo of warmth. But just as he began to feel a wave of confidence rise in him, Jake's gaze caught Colin's, standing ominously at the edge. The critical browns of Colin's stare pierced through the joy, like shadows stretching across the bright lights. A flicker of doubt threatened to rise again, but Jake pushed it back. I know it's easy to think our small efforts don't matter, he continued, raw emotion bleeding into his words. But every little act of kindness counts. We change the world one moment at a time. The crowd erupted, applause and cheers drowning out any whispers from the darkness. Jake felt his spirit lift higher, resonating with the tides of hope flowing around him. It wasn't just about money or resources. It was about these moments of connection. As he stepped back to let the festivities kick into high gear, a voice in the back shouted, "Let us dance." Instantly, the crowd surged forward, music blaring, feet moving, and laughter filling the space. Jake moved aside, absorbing the scene. He was swept up in the joy and warmth, his heart swelling yet again. But then, amid the dance and laughter, he spotted a little girl, alone and watching from a corner. Her eyes were wide with wonder and longing, but her small frame echoed a hint of uncertainty. His heart ached as he realized she represented every child in this community. The light behind her eyes reminded him of Lily, inspiring hope entwined with fear. Would she feel included, or would she retreat into the shadows? Jake felt a tug in his chest, a call to action. He didn't want any child to stand on the sidelines, feeling alone. With his heart racing, he headed towards her, each step echoing the realization that a new journey was looming on the horizon, one filled with unknown trials but as vital as ever. What would it take to not only include her but every child, every strained dream in this community? And as he extended his hand towards her, Jake questioned if he could truly bridge the space between hope and possibility. Jake reached the little girl, her wide eyes reflecting innocence and a swirl of emotions that tugged at his heart. He noticed her fidgeting with the hem of her dress, unsure of what to do as the music danced around them. There was a spark of life in her, but fear anchored her to that corner. This is not how it should be, he thought. Hey there! Jake knelt down to meet her gaze, his voice warm and inviting. What's your name? Rosie, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Rosie, I'm Jake. It's so good to meet you. He smiled, hoping to loosen her apprehension. Are you enjoying the party? She glanced towards the dance floor, where colorful figures moved in rhythmic waves, laughter cascading around them. I like the music, she said softly, but her feet remained planted, her body still. Want to dance with me? Jake asked, extending his hand, realizing how much this moment meant. It was more than just a dance. This was an invitation to belong, to embrace joy instead of standing alone. Rosie hesitated, her eyes darting towards the lively crowd as if the music itself was calling her, but the fear pulled her back. Jake's heart raced, and he felt a tightness in his chest. He couldn't let her slip away. Look, he said, pointing to a group of children laughing and spinning, their faces glowing with delight. They're there just like you, ready to have fun. Come on, Rosie! I'll be right here with you. Something shifted in her expression. The fight in her eyes wavered as she watched the dancing kids. It was almost like he could see the gears turning in her small head. She slowly placed her hand in his, a spark of courage igniting. As they walked toward the gathering, the music enveloped them in waves of joy. Jake couldn't help but feel a thrill. Here was a small act, a simple gesture that could ripple across the community. He thought of how many other children might have felt this same hesitance, this same longing. If they could all just take that first step, the possibilities were endless. When they reached the dance floor, Jake twirled Rosie around, causing her to giggle. It was a sound so pure it made his heart swell. She mirrored his movements, her grin widening as she fell into rhythm. There it was, the light that he hoped to see all along. Suddenly, he caught Carla's eye across the room. She was smiling approvingly, giving him a thumbs up. A group of others had noticed too, and soon they were joining in, clapping along to the beat. As Rosie twirled once more, he felt an exhilarating rush. This tiny girl battling her fears was embodying everything he yearned for: acceptance, connection, a place to be seen. But just as the dance fully blossomed, he felt a weight press down on him. Colin's presence loomed in his mind, a nagging reminder in the chaos of joy. What would Colin think? The question slithered into his thoughts, giving rise to deeper doubts. Maybe this celebration wouldn't be enough. Maybe his dreaming was just that, dreams with no sturdy ground to stand on. Yet as Rosie twirled again, her laughter mingling with the rising music, Jake felt that doubt beginning to crack. Here, right now, something important was happening. It wasn't just a party, it was a moment of transformation. And then his phone buzzed angrily in his pocket, pulling him back to the noise of reality. He fumbled for it, glancing at the screen. Tormented by the clamor of uncertainty, he hesitated for a heartbeat. What if it was bad news, something that could overshadow the moment? With Rosie's delighted face staring up at him, Jake realized he had a choice. He could either be pulled back into the shadows of doubt, or continue to embrace the light unfolding before him. Would he choose to let this moment define him, or retreat back into Colin's world of criticism and skepticism? The decision loomed like a shadow over the joyful dance floor, threatening to disrupt the very essence of hope he'd worked so hard to build. How could he ensure that Rosie would never feel that loneliness again? The sound pulsed around him, and with another twirl, he grasped Rosie's hand. Tighter, ready to dive deeper into this moment of possibility. Little did he know, this decision would lead him towards something he never expected, something that would change everything. As the music swayed around them, Jake felt the thrill of hope coursing through his veins. He squeezed Rosie's hand tighter and spun her in a joyful circle. She laughed, her little voice cutting through the noise with a brilliance that felt like sunlight. "Look at you go!" he said, feeling the warmth of the moment blossom. More people had gathered around them, and the energy in the air shifted. They began cheering for Rosie, encouraging her with every step, every twirl. Jake glanced over at Carla, her smile radiant, reflecting the joy that radiated from the dance floor. "You got this, Rosie!" she called out, her voice mingling with the music, filling Jake with a confidence he desperately needed. The doubt that had shadowed him moments before started to fade. This was bigger than himself. It was about reaching out, about being a light for others to follow. Watching Rosie discover her own joy tugged at him in ways he hadn't anticipated. There was a connection forming, not just between them, but with everyone watching. They were all part of something magical. But just as Jake was catching a glimpse of what could be, the problematic buzzing of his phone again broke through. He glanced down, his heart clenching. It was from Colin, demanding answers for a meeting that Jake had considered rescheduling for this very event. The text was stern, a stark contrast to the laughter surrounding him. Jake inhaled sharply. Colin's world of deadlines and obligations threatened to pull him back into a once familiar state of stress and anxiety. He could feel it wrapping around him like a heavy shroud. But then he looked back at Rosie, her face alight with glee, spinning around him, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing outside their bubble. "Jake! Come dance!" she urged, her arms outstretched, beckoning him back to the floor like a siren calling sailors home. The way she sparkled under the flashing lights made him want to fight the rational side trying to dictate his actions. He felt torn. The responsibilities and worries of adulthood beckoned from the sidelines, glaring at him, demanding his attention. But which world was he truly part of at this moment? The festive atmosphere or the drab reality that Colin represented? "Let it go for a minute," he muttered to himself, forcing himself to resist the pull of the phone. With a decisive breath, he returned to the dance. They spun together in time to the music, the joyful rhythm reminding him that life was about balance. It wasn't just work and stress, there had to be fun to counter it all. Rosie was his reminder. "Let us show them how it's done," he cheered, raising their joined hands as they danced. The surrounding group joined in, creating a circle of encouragement. They shifted like a tide of optimism, all joining together in this wave of connection and joy. Then something remarkable happened. Other children shifted from the edges, drawn in by the energy. They watched for a moment, eyes wide and hopeful, before joining the movement. Soon, more laughter and music fused together as a larger group emerged, creating a cacophony of happiness that drowned out Jake's fears. The worries in his mind began to dissolve. In that moment, amidst the catchy beat and the laughter, Jake realized he wasn't just dancing for himself, or even securing a victory over doubt. No, this was far greater. This was about inspiring others, letting them see it was okay to embrace joy, to be present, to rage against the drum of society waiting to quiet them down. And then he caught a glimpse of someone in the corner of his eye, a familiar face he hadn't seen in years, watching silently from the doorway. That face, woven with memories, was enough to strike a chord deep within him. Who? He started to think, his heart skipping a beat. As if on cue, the music shifted, a new rhythm filling the air that was, oddly enough, both exciting and frightening, raising questions that swirled in his mind. Who would it be? What would it mean for him? Behind him, Rosie spun again, her laughter ringing out, but Jake couldn't shake the sense that this moment was just the beginning. What would happen next? The excitement hung thick in the air, hinting at a new chapter waiting to unfold. Jake felt an electric shift in the atmosphere as he turned, curiosity pulling him away from the dance. The crowd swelled around him, laughter and joy still swirling like confetti in the air. But that face, shadowed and yet disturbingly familiar, captivated him entirely. "Is it really you?" he whispered, hardly able to breathe. There was no mistaking her, Emily. The girl from his childhood, the one with the bright smile and dreams that sparkled like stars. They had drifted apart as life took them on different paths, but her mere presence rekindled memories he thought he had buried. As Emily stepped forward, her expression mirrored a mix of surprise and vulnerability. "Jake? I can't believe it," she paused, as if searching for the right words, eyes sparkling with unshed tears. "I've been looking for you." Jake's heart raced. Could it be that she had watched him dance, feeling a pull toward him like he had felt toward her? He took a step closer, the music fading into a low hum. "Looking for me? Why? I've missed everything." Rosie, picking up on the shift in their energy, spun back over, her little face full of glee as she hugged Jake's leg. "Who's this, Daddy? She looks nice." With a shaky smile, Jake knelt down and ruffled Rosie's hair. "This is an old friend, Rosie. Emily. Emily! I love your name!" Rosie beamed, her innocence cutting the tension. "Come dance with us." Emily laughed softly, the sound reminding Jake of happier times. "I'd love to, little dancer." Rosie dragged her by the hand as they rejoined the circle, laughter weaving them into the fabric of joy and warmth that surrounded them. Jake watched as Emily twirled with Rosie, the same grace he remembered flooding back to him, chasing away any lingering hesitation. But beneath the surface, questions bubbled inside him. What had brought her here? What did she want after all these years? He stepped back, allowing himself to simply take in the scene, the vibrant swirl of colors and sounds. Memories shadowed him like ghosts, pushing him to think about the choices he had made. Emily had inspired him back then. Her carefree spirit drove him to be a dreamer amidst the chaos of responsibilities. Where had that kid gone? Yet now, staring at the woman who once shared his unfettered laughter, he felt that spark ignite again, a flicker of inspiration forcing its way through the cage adulthood had built around him. As they danced, Emily caught his eye again, a silent conversation passing between them that the world around them zoomed out to witness. But Jake was focused only on her, clinging tightly to that moment. When the track slowed, he felt a bittersweet longing wash over him. "Emily, he started to say, but the music changed again, pulsing with a new energy, a beat that hinted at unspoken hopes and dreams. She tilted her head, waiting, anticipation glimmering in her eyes. Before he could finish, a commotion near the entrance caught his attention. A loud crash echoed, followed by frantic voices that cut through the joyous atmosphere. Jake's heart lurched. He turned just as a group of people rushed to help someone who had fallen. "Stay here!" he shouted to Rosie before dashing toward the chaos, adrenaline propelling him forward. What had been a moment of reconnection now unfolded into something unexpected, something Jake wasn't ready for. He glanced back at Emily briefly, meeting her wide eyes filled with concern. When he reached the scene, the realization struck him a pivotal moment was unfolding, one that could change everything yet again. What was he about to face? As he leaned closer, heart pounding, he felt Emily's gaze following him, a reminder that she was still there, ready to dive into the unknown with him. Would he have the courage to embrace whatever came next? Jake pushed through the crowd, his heart racing as he navigated the sea of concerned faces. The air thickened with tension, people murmuring, their eyes glued to the center of the chaos. He caught a flash of movement. A girl, no older than Rosie, lay crumpled on the ground, her friends hovering over her. "Someone call for help!" a voice shouted, but Jake barely registered the command. He knelt beside the girl, noticing the cut on her forehead and the tears streaking down her cheeks. Panic flickered in her eyes as she struggled to sit up. "Hey, you're okay," he said, trying to keep his own voice steady. "Just breathe." He carefully placed a hand on her shoulder, hoping to calm her. As he looked closer, he could see the fear draining the color from her face. She trembled under the weight of the moment. Voices buzzed around him, some calling for an ambulance, others speculating about what had happened. Suddenly, everything felt surreal, like the world had slowed down around them. "Did you fall?" he asked gently, trying to connect. She nodded, biting her lip as a fresh wave of tears threatened to spill. Then, from the corner of his eye, he spotted Emily pushing her way through the crowd. Her expression was a mix of concern and determination as she approached. It was comforting to see her there. He felt a certain strength just from her presence. She knelt down beside him, shoulder to shoulder. "What can I do?" Emily asked, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "We need to keep her calm," Jake said, keeping his gaze on the girl. "Just talk to her. Focus on her." Emily immediately turned her attention to the girl, her soothing tone wrapping around them like a warm blanket. "Hey there, I'm Emily. What's your name?" "Lila," the girl managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Lila, you're going to be okay," Emily said, nodding encouragingly. "We're here with you. Just take some deep breaths." Jake admired how Emily took control of the moment. She wasn't just a childhood memory now, she was present, grounding him, filling the air with a spark of hope amidst the fear. Just then, sirens wailed in the distance, a comforting sound that meant help was on the way. Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. He glanced at Emily, who met his gaze with an understanding smile, as if they were both in this together, connected not just by their past, but by the urgency of the present. As the paramedics arrived, the steady rhythm of their professionalism returned order to the scene. Jake stood up slowly, stepping back as they took over, yet his heart raced with adrenaline. Emily stayed close, quietly whispering between comforting words to Lila and exchanging glances with Jake that spoke volumes. But beneath it all, Jake felt a change stirring within him. He had stepped up. He had risen to meet a sudden challenge. And as he looked at Emily, he realized that this was about more than just an old friend reconnecting. This moment was about rediscovering the person he used to be, the one Emily had made him want to be. Suddenly, Lila looked up at them, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you?" The simple words struck Jake deeply, igniting a sense of purpose. This was what life was about. As the paramedics carried Lila away on a stretcher, Jake turned back to Emily, his voice almost a whisper. "What now? We've found each other in the chaos, but where do we go from here?" Emily smiled, a blend of excitement and uncertainty dancing in her eyes. "Let us start with a dance, shall we?" Just then, the music started playing again, cutting through the lingering tension. Jake felt that familiar spark, but before he could respond, a distant voice from the crowd shouted something that made them both freeze. "Jake!" Jake turned, confusion flooding his thoughts. Memories rushed back, the name echoing in more than his mind. Who was calling him now? What other surprise awaited him in this unexpected reunion? He glanced back at Emily, searching her eyes for answers, and for the first time in years, he felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with fear. What awaited him could change everything. Again. Jake's heart dropped when he heard the voice again. Jake. It was more urgent now, cutting through the music and chatter, sending a ripple of unease through him. Could it be someone he knew? He turned fully toward the source, a young man pushing his way through the crowd, his face flushed and desperate. As he got closer, recognition hit Jake like a punch to the gut. It was Charlie, an old friend from high school, someone he hadn't seen in years. But it was the look on Charlie's face that sent a jolt of anxiety through Jake's mind. Jake. There you are. Charlie's breath came in quick gasps. I've been looking for you. What's going on? Jake's brow furrowed, his instincts heightened. It's Mom, Charlie said, his eyes wide, flicking back toward the frantic crowd. She's in trouble. We need to get to her. I don't know what happened, but before he could finish, Jake felt that familiar sense of urgency creep back in, just like when Lila had fallen. Where? What happened? She collapsed. In the plaza. It's bad, Jake, Charlie replied, practically grabbing Jake's arm. With no time to waste, Jake turned to Emily. I have to go, he said, looking her in the eyes, a plea for understanding. Can you stay here? Find out what's happening. Her concern deepened, but she nodded. Be safe, Jake. As he pushed through the crowd with Charlie, the drum of chaos beat loudly in his ears. The noise felt distant, almost muted compared to the pounding of his heart. Ghosts of memories filled his mind, times both good and bad spent with Charlie, but none felt relevant now. All that mattered was getting to what lay ahead. They reached the plaza where a small gathering had formed. The atmosphere was thick with tension, filled with whispering voices echoing uncertainty about what had happened. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Where was she? Then he saw her. There she was, lying near a bench, surrounded by paramedics. His mom. Her eyes were closed, and a blanket was draped over her, obscuring any signs of movement. Anxiety clawed at Jake's insides. He pushed forward, finally breaking through the tight circle of onlookers. The sight of her pale face sent him reeling, emotions twisting into a tight knot in his throat. Mom! He called, desperate to reach her. But a paramedic stepped in his way, shaking his head gravely. Please, sir. We're doing everything we can, the paramedic said, urging him back gently. Jake's mind raced. Thoughts of his childhood flooded back, every hug, every shared moment, and all of the times she had held him when he was scared. No, he whispered, the word escaping him as if it were an unfinished prayer. Charlie stood beside Jake, biting his lip as he observed their mother from a distance. This can't be happening, not now. The siren still blared, drowning out every ounce of hope Jake was trying to muster. Charlie clenched his fists, mirroring Jake's anxiety as they both took in the scene. I'm not losing her, Jake said defiantly. As if in response to his words, a paramedic began speaking to them, voice firm, but supportive. We're going to get her stabilized. We're calling for an ambulance. You need to stay calm. But calm felt impossible at that moment. Jake's world turned upside down. The crowd seemed to fade away, and the only thing that mattered was getting to his mom. Her warmth, her laughter, everything they had shared. He realized in that instant that he had to get her back, not just for himself, but for Charlie, and for all the memories they hadn't yet made. Feeling the weight of the moment, Jake let out a shaky breath. Maybe life was full of challenges. But this time, he felt a flicker of determination burn in his chest. Suddenly, he turned to Charlie. We have to move. We need to get ready for whatever comes next. As they stood there, adrenaline coursing through them, Jake glanced back at Emily, who stood at a distance, worry etched in her features. Let's do this, Jake whispered, a newfound strength rising within him. But deep down he couldn't help but wonder, could he face the truth waiting ahead, and would it change the course of everything? Jake's heart was a drumbeat of fear and determination as he clutched Charlie's shoulder. They wove through the throngs of onlookers, eyes flickering from the paramedics to the hollow-eyed spectators. Every human face felt like a reflection of his growing dread. How was he supposed to feel calm when his world was unraveling? As they got close enough to see the paramedics in action, Jake strained to catch a glimpse of his mother beneath the blanket. She always knew how to fix things, how to offer a smile when everything felt dark. And now she lay there, her essence a mere phantom behind the sterile emergency response. "Stay back!" shouted a paramedic, his voice harsh but full of urgency. Jake flinched but refused to budge. His mother needed him. "Where's the ambulance?" Jake shouted, his voice disconnecting from reality. It was a question rooted in desperation rather than inquiry. "She'll be on her way shortly," came the reply from the same paramedic, who was now administering oxygen. "We have to stabilize her first." Charlie cleared his throat, the sound thick with emotion. "What do we do, Jake? What can we do?" Jake raked a hand through his hair, his mind spinning. We have to be here for her," he stammered, feeling more lost than ever. "We can't let her feel alone." He tried to look brave, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Suddenly, a commotion bubbled up from behind them. A young woman rushed through the crowd, her apron stained with food splatters. Her eyes darted between the paramedics and the gathering crowd, searching for someone, something. When her gaze found Jake, it was like a flicker of recognition crossed her face. "Jake! Is that you?" she gasped, tossing her hands aside, the apron flapping around her. "Miriam?" He hadn't seen her since high school. Just as he was trying to catch up with the old emotions, she rushed up to him. "I heard about your mom," she exclaimed, her face softening with concern. "I can help. I used to volunteer at the hospital SER. Let me through." The paramedic hesitated, his eyes narrowing, but seeing the conviction in her stance, he relented. "Okay, but be careful," he cautioned. Miriam entered the circle like a beacon. "Your mother needs to hear familiar voices. Just keep talking to her. Just like you always have." Jake wasn't sure if that would work, but he nodded and turned back toward his mom. "Hey, Mom," he began, his voice wavering. "It's me, Jake. I'm right here, okay? You're not alone. I'm going to stay right here." Charlie squeezed his hand. "We're here, Mom," he echoed, stepping closer. Temperature spikes and sirens became a backdrop to his concentrated thoughts. With every second losing her was a reality that threatened to swallow him whole. Minutes crawled by like hours. Then the unmistakable sound of an ambulance wafted in through the murmur of the crowd. Hope flickered within Jake like a fragile candle. As paramedics wheeled a gurney closer, Jake's heart raced. Would they allow him to ride with her? Would they let him hold her hand during the ride? "Jake," Charlie whispered, his face pale. "What if?" "Stop," Jake cut him off, panic pushing him into sharp focus. "She's going to make it. She has to." Just then, amid the chaos, Jake caught a glimpse of Emily watching him from the sidelines. Her eyes were wide, reflecting a mixture of worry and determination. He felt an exchange of strength through the space between them. "Let's get her on the stretcher," one of the paramedics called. Jake's throat felt tight. "Can I come with her?" The medic met his gaze with understanding. "You can, but you need to stay calm. Can you do that?" Jake nodded, swallowing hard as they gently lifted his mom onto the gurney. The moment felt surreal, almost like watching himself from afar. As they wheeled her toward the ambulance, Charlie and Jake kept pace beside them, hearts racing, souls tethered to the fragile woman they both loved. In that moment, as the vehicle doors swung open, Jake felt something deep within croon a promise. Watching the frantic bustle of professionals only strengthened the bond he had with both his mom and Charlie. But what would happen when the ambulance doors closed? "Stay strong, Mom," Jake whispered, stepping forward despite the layers of fear that wrapped around him. And then he wondered, what secrets would the hospital reveal? And would they be ready for the truth when it finally came to light? Jake stood at the edge of the bustling emergency room, heart pounding wildly, as the medical team wheeled his mom into the chaos of fluorescent lights and swirling commotion. He felt Charlie's hand gripping his, a lifeline amid the whirlpool of fear and uncertainty. They shared a silent understanding. This was uncharted territory, and they had to be strong for her. Time slowed, every passing minute feeling like a lifetime. Jake paced back and forth in the waiting area, the urgency of the moment pulling him like a magnet. Memories of his childhood looped through his mind, his mom's laughter, her warm hugs chasing away shadows. This wasn't just a moment of crisis. It was a reckoning, a reminder of everything he had taken for granted. Suddenly, the sharp ring of his phone pierced through the anxious chatter around him. It was Emily. He hesitated but answered, taking a deep breath to steady himself. "Jake, I'm here," she said softly, but her words wrapped around him like a protective blanket. "Emily, it's my mom," he choked out, his voice cracking under the weight of despair. "I don't know what is happening." "Let me come to you," she insisted, and despite the distance, he felt her warmth radiate through the screen. "I'll be right there." As the minutes dragged on, Jake found himself lost in thought, replaying the last moments he'd had with her. The laughter, the dinners, her guiding hand steering him through life. Fear was gnawing at his heart like a relentless ache. Could he really face losing her? The reality of it loomed heavy, testing his belief that hope was still tied to their bond. Finally, the double doors swung open, and a doctor clad in scrubs approached them. His expression bore the weight of news they both dreaded. Jake's breath hitched in his throat, Charlie's grip tightening. "Charlie," the doctor began, his tone steady yet compassionate. "We managed to stabilize your mother. She's responsive, but she's going to need some time to recover." Relief washed over them, and for the first time, Jake felt tears prick at his eyes. Can we see her?" he stammered, heart racing with urgency. "Follow me," the doctor said, leading them through the chaos. As they entered the room, Jake's heart fluttered at the sight of his mom, unconscious but alive. The steady beep of the monitor behind her served as a comforting rhythm, grounding him in reality. He stepped closer, feeling tears slip down his cheeks. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I'm here. We're here." Charlie joined him, placing a hand over their mother's, squeezing tightly. In that small room, amid the sterile surroundings, a transformation unfolded. The weight of the world slipped off Jake's shoulders, replaced by a powerful sense of purpose. This moment was precious. He wasn't just a self-made millionaire anymore. He was a son fully present, utterly devoted. "I need you to come back to us," Jake murmured, almost pleading with her spirit. "There's so much to share. So many dreams to chase." Meanwhile, outside in the waiting room, Emily walked in quietly, her presence a soft anchor in the storm of emotions swirling around him. She caught his eye and nodded, her assurance wrapping around him like a silken thread. She didn't speak, she simply stood beside him, offering the strength he desperately needed. After what felt like hours, his mother stirred, her eyelids fluttering. As her eyes finally opened, they locked onto Jake's, recognition flooding her expression. "Jake," she murmured, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Yeah, Mom. It's me. I'm right here," he said, his heart soaring. "You're going to be okay." In that moment, the bonds of their family felt stronger than ever, unbreakable by the trials life threw at them. The struggles he had faced in building his life took a back seat to the unyielding love he held for her and for Charlie. They were a unit, resilient, ready to face whatever lay ahead. "Jake," his mom breathed, her eyes glistening with tears of relief. "I heard you. I'm not going anywhere." And all at once, Jake realized that it wasn't just about survival. It was about thriving and living fully, together. Amid the chaos, hope had seized them, bold and unyielding. As they shared embraces and small stories, breaths of laughter mingling with tears, Jake felt that spark inside him glow brighter. This was it, a new beginning not just for him, but for all of them. And when the world outside faded away, he promised himself to embrace this moment, every glorious second of it. He saw the path ahead, a journey filled with love, resilience, and the hearts of those who mattered most. "Let us make those memories count, Mom," he said with a radiant smile. "Let us chase dreams together." Jake's heart sang as his mother nodded, determination rooted in their shared warmth. Their family bond was a treasure greater than any material success, grounding him in purpose. And as the doors opened once again, a sense of peace enveloped the room, forming a circle of connection filled with love, laughter, and a renewed sense of belonging. Now was the time not only for survival, but for celebrating life in all its beautiful complexities. This is the moment you need to reflect on how you can support your loved ones. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel for more inspiring stories that remind us what truly matters. Leave a like now, it fuels the algorithm and helps others find hope. Comment your thoughts about this emotional journey, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. Only true fans can understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.